Hey, this is the Entertainment Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a topic of why storytelling is important for society. So, for this video, I'm going to describe why storytelling, whether through TV shows, movies, um, and so on and so forth, is important for society. When it comes to something that, of course, plays a good role in making sure that our society um is doing well in a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand, okay? Um, so now that I mention that, let's get started. So when it comes to why storytelling is important for society, when it comes to making sure our lives are nice and comfortable, like the many other things that make up our society, that make it as good as it is first and foremost it offers escapism, okay? And when it comes to escapism, the reason why escapism, of course, is a good thing, when you're watching a movie or a TV show or even playing a video game and there's a good story and stuff, is that it offers the ability for people, of course, to actually have less stress for their lives, okay? Because let's be honest, okay? Most people's lives are extremely stressful at times. And if they're not extremely stressful, at times they can be, on average they are stressful, okay? Most people work 9 to 5 jobs, they have a boss that they hate, they have to do jobs that are just extremely boring, for that matter, with no soul whatsoever. And it doesn't help that you also are around coworkers, some of them you hate, if not all of them. And if not that, you have to also sometimes make up for the stupid things that other people do when it's like, okay, clearly you did not have to do that stupid shit, in all honesty. And yeah, like staying overnight and stuff and just having to deal with drama and personal issues and family issues, all that type of stuff. Most people's lives are quite stressful, and some very stressful, but whatever. Most people go through stress regularly, okay? So when you have movies, okay, it can absolutely play a role in reducing the stress people actually have in their lives, to put it bluntly, okay? Um, and when it comes to, of course, reducing stress, it obviously has a role when it comes to making life better. Like obviously, as a result of having less stress, you'll have people who are happier, and obviously as a result, you know, are less likely to cause problems and get in fights and all that type of shit, you know, and that is the truth of the matter when it comes to, of course, something like watching a good movie or a TV show, whatever story based, skill you're looking at. It offers a good ability for people to just be distracted from, of course, reality, and just have their stress level go down and not have to be constantly pissed all the time, okay? And obviously, as a result of having less stress, it makes things better for everyone, just like music, okay? And other forms of entertainment, okay? It helps people less miserable, and that's the truth, okay? So that's my first point. The second point is that it encourages people to come up with ideas they would have never thought of, okay? Because when you're watching a movie that's made by someone, okay, especially if you're watching enough movies that cover a wide variety of topics, it helps people come up with ideas that they would have never thought of in a million years, okay? Whether it could be things for different things like science, for that matter, technology, medicine, or even just things like how the world can be like and stuff. It helps inspire people. And through inspiring people, it can help people come up with ideas they would have never thought of before, you know, if there's someone who has potential, and through coming up with those ideas, they can also do things that can help contribute to humanity and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, it was actually proven that a lot of sci-fi movies, um, you know, and TV shows and so on and so forth, actually helped inspire real life inventions, specifically Star Trek. Actually, a lot of ideas that we take for granted today, was inspired by the show. Everything from like cell phones and so on and so forth, was inspired by shows like Star Trek, and even Star Wars and different things for that matter. So, you know, to say that something like movies have absolutely no purpose in society, even though of course it's not as important as things like medicine, technology, and other things for that matter that make up a society like the military, it's to say that it doesn't have an important role, even though of course it's not as important as those three things I mentioned, is definitely a stupid statement to make. It definitely has a role, as it can actually have a role in inspiring people, to do things. Okay, so that's my second point when it comes to why entertainment is good for, specifically, of course, when it comes to entertainment, you know, stories are good for society, okay? And that is the truth. Now, the third point and the last point, of course, to contribute to this discussion, of course, is um the topic that of course is very controversial, but is very true, is the fact that it offers an ability for people to live out their fantasies, okay? So, you know, in other words, of course, be able to live out violent fantasies or just be entertained through violence, okay? So now when it comes to this one, why this one's important for society is that it helps make it less likely people will cause problems. Because the truth about life, I have actually noticed that most people actually, in general, for that matter, specifically, um, you know, uh, you know, of course, um, mind their business and want to live peaceful lives. I think everyone knows that. But at the same time, there is a significant portion of people, and it's not the 1% like everyone wants to imagine it, but a lot of people, when life is actually peaceful and comfortable, actually kind of want something to happen. In other words, they want drama, they want violence, and they want chaos, okay? I've actually noticed that about life, okay? Sometimes people are just want to cause problems because they find everyday life boring, which it can definitely be, and so on and so forth. And obviously, not everyone's rich, so sometimes they just want something to fucking happen. They want violence, they want chaos because it gives them a sense of not just, a sense of an interesting adventure. It also just satisfies their urges for excitement and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have a lot of people in the world who are like that. People who just kind of want something to happen when nothing's happening, for that matter. Okay, so as a result of that, movies make it less likely for people to actually kind of want to cause problems, because when people actually watch things like movies, TV shows, video games, under the blanket of the topic of storytelling, so in other words, to sum it up, when people have stories that they read, they're less likely to kind of actually want to cause problems, because not only does it help entertain them, and as a result, kind of satisfy their urges, it can also show you the effects of what happens when people actually have violence and chaos, because even though this is fiction, at least most stories are fiction, and even if it's not fiction, it's not directly happening to you, it can still have a profound emotional effect on people, because people, when they look at stories like movies, TV shows, even cutscenes in video games, whatever, you know, it is something that they look at and sometimes they can relate it to their actual lives. And when you sometimes see the effects of violence and chaos and so on and so forth, for that matter, you know, it makes it less likely that some people actually want to cause problems because they're like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to have people dedicating their lives to trying to kill me or this and that, or or being called maybe a certain name or whatnot. So it definitely has a role in helping, when it comes to storytelling in general, helping actually make it less likely that there's going to be people who cause problems, whether it comes down to seeing the effect, violence and chaos and stuff creates, or just simply being able to entertain them so they don't have to be likely to kind of want to see violence in everyday life because they're satisfied with the violence that they look at. Okay. Now, whether you want to get into obviously the question of why some people are like that in the first place, that's not the issue here. The issue here is that they're not causing problems. Okay. That is the truth. Okay. So, in short, um, storytelling can help reduce violence. So, anyway, This is my video. These are all the points I have made when it comes to discussion about storytelling and more specifically why storytelling is good for society. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it as well as found it informative. And just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all to say, and simply put, I'm out. So bye.